It's gonna work.
You wanna try it?
No, it's good.
Sure, yeah, I just didn't know where he was.
Yeah.
Need to shout at each other.
Don't be startled, but.
Thanks.
Oh, no. I need speakers.
You just wanted to do that.
That's right.
No,
Got that beautiful bungalow across the street. Have the bar, we have the bar in the back. Yeah.
All right, you're all set.
Okay, the meeting will come to order, the roll call. Running Stub, Chairman,
Oh, yeah, I'll read the list, or do you want to go around, either one. Contra Miller, alternate.
John Dyken, member. Watson, vice chair.
yes.
Yeah, it works. Don Forte, remember?
And we'll be seating Andra, so we have five. Everybody's. Nobody here for finances, please. It says review and action of minutes, but normally you don't take hearings go first, so you have to wait. This is where we're going to everything. So. Our first public hearing is HDC 2023-10, request from Paula Zepke and John Heckman to replace the garage door at 198 Hudson Street. So normally what we do is we present the condition that we have and what we think.
Thank you. So this is the current garage door. See that? Very old, not good condition. Just to give you an idea, from the inside of the garage, you can see light coming through. It's very thin. And so what we'd like to do, so just, this is just.
Also, there's a finished room behind the garage. It's pretty cold, because of that.
Yeah, it's not really energy efficient. So just to give you an idea, we'd like to get a door that sort of goes along with the idea of the 12, one windows. So that's much. The curved door made out of wood is. So what we're looking for is. This is the proposal. That lists all the materials and everything. Is a galvanized steel door. So on the screen, if anybody needs it. Oh, thank you. Not as good, but.
The door that you want.
Yeah.
So flat panel.
Well, actually, you know what? No, that's not accurate. It's the big door. It's supposed to be this one. If you look at the pictures here, it's the flat, it's. That is.
So it's raised.
Different, so it's like what Maureen has up on there. This one? No, I don't think that's the same one.
So
It's,
what's it flat panel?
that's a different one from this one, so this shouldn't be quite this.
So
Is it
you
this one?
want the raised panel.
Yes. Whatever this is.
Excuse me, is it the one on the screen now? Is it that one?
Yes. And you wanna have the 4 pane doors, you know, have 4 pane doors.
But it matches the original, there was original panes there.
Yeah, original wood pane.
I know.
There's somewhat, you know,
Coordinates.
consistent.
Okay, well, yeah.
It's a wood painting, that's a-
Well, it's kind of a treat for us to, I think the house was built 1925, overhead doors came out in 1921. Generally, we get people who have a 19th century barn or a 19th century house. And, you know, they didn't have overhead doors in the 19th century.
Right,
So we kind of struggle with what's appropriate, what kind of overhead door isn't appropriate for a 19th century house, but
right,
you know, in this day and age, everybody wants to have an overhead door. So we struggle about the materials, it should be, what it should look like. It should look like a carriage door, because that's what, you know, that's what a barn would have
Right.
in the 19th century, or they didn't have 2-car garages in the 19th century either. But this is kind of a treat because your house was built at a time where there would have been an overhead door.
Yeah.
And it would have looked a lot like the door that you got right now. Personally, you know, I would like to see it have, if it was more like a 1925 overhead door rather than, you know, 2025. Personally, I would like to see flat panels and not raised panels, because they didn't come out on overhead doors until the 1970s or 80s. You know, they just used flat panels. You know, an 4x4 overhead doors for common. You know, this is just what I grabbed off the internet about 1920, 1930. That's a composite of 1929 there.
oh,
It's Society is closed.
so they might have been on the right track here. With these, with what we have now.
Yeah, that's probably a 1940s, 50s
Yeah.
door.
Yeah, because the garage is out and on the.
Yeah. So, my-
Because I was looking, I mean, this looks more like what they have.
that's the flat panel, that's not the
So
raised
that's
panel,
what I'm
right?
confused about, that's,
Because I looked up, we should have put that up separate, you did, but I was looking up this
You have to,
arts and crafts bundle.
you have to pardon my horrible
Oh,
eyesight.
can you see that?
Yeah, yeah. That's, I would prefer to see that.
Oh. Yeah,
you know
okay,
what I'm saying, yeah,
yeah, it's like this.
yeah. But that's not what you want,
Um,
it's not what you want.
No, it is.
but the picture she had with the raised panels,
So instead
I don't
of
think they're
this,
appropriate
that's not
for that
preferable,
house.
that's preferable. Okay,
So
So
flat
this one.
panel.
this one.
yeah, and my.
That's right.
And I think the company that makes the door.
Flat panel.
It's a choice, flat panel.
It's basically this one, this is, I know, I literally,
And we can
This is-
request a flat panel.
yeah,
Okay.
it's different,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this was in your catalog.
Okay. We'll have to
So
see if
this
we-
is preferable to folks, we did it.
Well, to me, I don't.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Well, I agree. Yeah, I hear you.
It does make sense, yeah.
I mean, from the street, the door you have is great.
If it weren't-
But
Yeah,
if
yeah.
if it was more insulated and
Yeah, and plus, you know, with it having an automatic garage door opener, there's a finite number of times, so that certain.
That's right. You don't wanna get
Probably
that
try to get a jump on it.
So I see, because this is more piece of the flat panels, that's sort of more in line with that. I understand.
you tell me where you got the picture from, you said. Her. You, Greg, you took
I
it
just
from,
heard the overhead door ads from the, you know.
Saturday evening.
Wow.
Post.
Yeah.
But this. Oh, this is sort of a vintage picture.
Well, just call these people.
This one's even got the vintage car in its driveway.
I know.
That wasn't the vintage car when that was taken. You know, if you have an ad, you don't put an old car in your ad, you have a brand new car in your ad.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good point.
So,
That's when I was Googling that time period, you know, RV bungalow style houses, garage doors. I was coming up with the same kind of thing.
you probably know a lot more about the history of that house than I do. I know it's kind of famous in the neighborhood that,
Should I
you know,
think
Greg-
when I sent you the
Greg
welcome
Engineering
package,
started
I sent you
there.
the house history.
my wife and I have been in the neighborhood long enough, we knew the Heinzman. Mr. Heinz was married to the boss's daughter, Mary Raymond,
Oh,
Jean Raymond, and they lived in the white brick house on.
Okay.
Fenville.
Yep.
He was the one that started Raymond Engineering and invented the.
Yeah,
Right, yeah,
Yeah, so I think that's his workshop is literally behind the garage.
That's where he started.
Yep.
yeah.
yeah.
So it's a very important house.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
When the Heinzman's lived across the street in the brick house. His project was, he had a helicopter. I guess he started building it in his cellar. And
Then he couldn't get it
it's a
out.
very low house and a very low cellar in that house. And he moved into the shed in the back, and that's when I saw it. It had it didn't have the props on it, but it had some bubble with the old
Well,
nineteen
that's
sixties elevator. Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So would you be agreeable to? use
Yeah,
that?
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we can find one and get it rolling.
It's on the screen and.
Yeah. Yeah, that does, that makes sense.
Were you feeling so we're dealing with about these or somebody who did a lot of this field?
Yeah,
Somebody else.
well, these people that I contacted, you know, I didn't know. How complicated this would be, and I said, we're in a historic district, so are you, and he said, we do a lot of work in historic Weathersfield, so I kind of get the idea.
Okay, you
I
did
don't
say
know,
that.
but he did say that. So if we were to find the appropriate door.
Well, that company that makes the door that you show with the panels, it's an option. to have
Oh,
flat
okay,
panels.
okay,
Yeah.
so we can go, because you don't wanna wait too long. So,
No, I don't think it'd be a problem.
We would have-
It could be cheaper too.
we wouldn't have to attend
No,
another
as long as-
meeting.
As long as we do this door.
We keep that as the door. There you go.
With the flat panel instead.
Yeah,
That
Which
would
I
be
kind of
nice.
actually like.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can I get clarification with the four light, four window, four light windows?
Right. Just like it's-
Yeah.
Okay.
I did pull up an ad that they had, even in the twenties, overhead door offered all these elaborate glass arrangements. In their window, so. It's kind of neat how little it's changed and how much it's changed.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I'm guessing the electrical.
Not good, but it's- yes.
It wasn't, I meant that as a joke, that's a hidden feature, it really doesn't matter.
That came along pretty early, in
Really?
40s or so.
Yeah, yeah.
As far as the materials, we. Steel doors, that's what everybody goes with, man.
I can understand why you want to even. You're trying to heat a space, you want.
Yeah, you know, and if we can do the galvanized steel is kind of one and done, you know what I mean? Once we get the store and then we're good for a while. Was the thinking. That I was thinking.
Our value.
rest is going to be.
Right, something like that.
Yeah,
Both makes a big difference.
those panels are 4 inch plywood or worse masonry.
Well,
Yeah,
glad
got a
you're,
lot
I'm
of
glad
work
you're
out
not there, let's do that. Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Anybody else have questions? Any questions about this?
Yeah, no, that's cool. We'll talk about the windows someday. That's.
Do I have a motion to close the hearing? Make a motion to close the hearing, please. Get a second.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. So we all agree.
Thank you.
So we have a motion to approve. How do we call this now? The flat panel garage door. Galvanized steel. And the 4 lights with 4. Lights.
I make a motion to approve the application based on those conditions.
And second.
I'll second that.
All those-
Aye.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I need that on file.
Oh,
I can't say I need it. Thank you for seeing that happen.
Do you have a picture so when you go back to them, yeah, you wanna take a picture of that with your phone or
I
something?
think
I do,
I think
it's
it's on
on
my
scan.
phone, I think that's how we're going to do this.
You scan it?
This is, and then it's entirely.
Yes, I don't read the pictures and how that's.
Yeah, this is what's scanned, so I have it, and I wrote down that Cambridge CM. Okay. With more light and camera and window, so, I mean, you don't, if I understand the commission correctly, you don't necessarily need to go with that manufacturer, but that's what
That will
to
work, that's.
come up
that will
with.
work.
Nice to meet you in person.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
How long have you lived there? Just out of curiosity?
3 years. 3 years last month.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, he loved it. He loved it. He loved the house
Yeah,
so much.
every day, yeah. we're fine with it.
Are you originally from Raleigh?
No,
I grew up in Wallingford.
and I grew up.
I see.
Yeah.
I noticed on some of the older houses, the white circle signs, where do those come from?
That was a project from the bicentennial.
Oh, well,
Um,
I don't wanna snoop, but you know, I've been looking and I'm like, I wonder where those come from.
Bicentennial Commission at the time did a whole study on all the old houses over 100 years. And then I think they got a grant or something to have these made, but
Yeah.
they had their image on them, but of course says wood and it deteriorated over time.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm also a member of the Historical Society, and we keep getting calls for people saying, can I get a new sign, but I don't even know who the vendor was.
Yeah, right,
And I'd like to get somebody to,
Yeah,
that would know how to reproduce that, but the.
yeah, I was just curious, because they all seem to be from the same
Yeah,
period.
we have some in a box at the museum that were rejected because the dates were wrong or something, and I've had people take them and then paint over.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's been taken time. So.
Great, that's it?
That's
Good
it.
luck. Wow,
See,
thank
it was
you.
easy.
So-
Relative.
You should check with the building department if you need a permit for the replace door. Okay. I don't know, actually. Where the parameter is as to what triggers. So check with them, and when they get an application, it's from the start district, they for a property within the historic district, they make sure our office sees it and will reference it.
Okay.
They get a certificate of appropriateness.
Oh, okay.
Maybe in the file, maybe.
Oh, you will?
Will we have a template to make them now? Marlo had created a template for us to pick them as opposed to, we used to have them printer, but that's when you put them in a typewriter or a printer to fill out correctly. We're not as talented as Marlo was to do that. And so it's usually that process. To actually send that certificate without sending it. We don't have a recording secretary right now, she's the one.
So I won't hold my breath. Actual certificate.
But it's in the records.
It's already
Okay.
signed on your actual
Yeah.
application certificate, so.
In fact, Paul, you did the video was archived, so
Oh,
yeah.
everything
It's online.
is permanent record.
Yeah.
This happened.
That's right, yeah, right.
A lot of witnesses.
Yeah, yeah, right. Just looking at
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, Richard. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Bye.
Bye.
So the next item on the agenda is review and action on the minutes from the November meeting.
Sorry, those weren't in the email. We had it done today. They are relatively short. Don't.
If the applicant has some starting. What he was gonna do. I usually don't drive down that part of the village. And do your product. To 40, you hear those steps.
I did not, and, boy, that's my bad, I was trying to be club. Little birdie told me you are busier than hell right now, and I really felt guilty, but
Oh,
part of it
please
was
don't.
I also forgot.
I also went to talk to the director of public works, and he wasn't there to talk to him about it, so I didn't then go back to him either, so. We'll circle back to that as soon
It's-
as you want to, please feel free,
Uh,
keep it on our radar.
Yeah, I mean, it's a project eventually for the spring anyway.
They probably. would that one. Public works probably won't be doing their work.
No,
And the
because the
winter
grade
time.
and seeding, it's very
Yeah.
difficult to do that there.
I never really noticed those stairs until we mentioned it.
Well, that's because we deliberately keep covered with all the leaves, so
Yeah,
nobody tries to
yeah,
use them.
Those are horrible.
Yeah, they really are.
Those are awful.
Yeah, and I have a to-do list to see if I can, we have some of the photographs. We are, and that type of thing. Just out of curiosity, if nothing else, to see if things are original, but they seem to match the original until most of the use about what it is. Probably not.
It must go back to the cloud.
I would imagine so, and yeah,
Then if you would do.
I did not.
Oh, that's what we're doing.
Oh, they're right.
Oh, I didn't know the way
It'll
to
take a couple minutes.
my apologies.
That's a short meeting.
No, this was easy. But I just. Don't call me, she has. Yeah. It's just the executive session stuff. Like, not that. It's gonna be a short. So it's going well, do it.
You want to bring it to 1 o'clock.
No, but a regular, we'll have regular business next Wednesday. That's what it's. We meet this week is a regular.
Yes. I'm fine with that. Not at all.
You're making.
No, I'm making a note to myself that I forget. Fine, what about this?
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I can fix myself. Okay. Then we have the meeting calendar for next year.
So when, okay, the calendar, she includes calendar behind it so that everybody can kind of get a sense of what the year looks like, which sometimes helps. The holidays, the major holidays are circled. The other holidays are listed at the bottom. If they're not, for the most part.
Has this been published outside of the?
Not for this year, yeah.
I think there's a couple of typos on it.
Oh, okay.
The filing date for the very first, the very last one, which was off timing. That was the filing date for the June.
To be 20, yeah.
23. And the same, maybe it's something the
Or,
auto correct does for you, Microsoft Word, and the same thing in January of 2025.
yeah, so it's due in December of 24 for January
Yeah,
25
silly thing,
meeting.
but it would be good to.
Due December of 23 for the January 24. So the January meeting was already adopted from last year's calendar. We adopt through to the following year's January,
You're right. It is.
Yeah,
That must have been right, it's to the auto thing.
or
Yes.
more likely it was auto filled in.
That's what I'm saying, some
She
sort of
just
auto,
didn't enter, yeah.
yeah. That's gonna be. So it's the usual first Monday of the month.
Yeah, it looks as though it's
July is the only month that has holidays.
January and July.
September, September does too. January. September.
Oh, but the meeting date, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense.
September 2nd.
July's wrong.
Labor Day.
July
Oh, that's the day.
says July 1, that's a Thursday.
Oh, October.
Oh, July 1. Oh, no, never mind, I'm sorry, July 4. Oh, sleep.
It's fine.
July 1 is the week of the holiday. So in blue highlighter, she put 15.
Right.
We have to go through all the motions.
You just have to, someone just move to adopt the calendar, the 2024 meeting calendar.
I'll move to adopt the 2024 calendar.
Second.
Okay. Whatever. As long as we get it done.
All those in favor?
Oh, we have, that's what I meant, did we have to go through that whole?
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, yeah,
Okay,
seems better.
all those in favor?
Aye.
It might be one of those things that the secretary can do, but
So other business and commissioner communication. Commissioner comments and project update. Anything new about the town hall?
I am not saying this week. No.
We talked about it
No
last time.
information. Yeah,
Um,
They're still being fined, right?
Hunter wasn't here last month, so
So, Polly over the last several months has had several conversations with them, but I think the last couple of times he's reached out to them has had some difficulty. They had done quite a bit of outdoor work. And again, with, just as we discussed in the past, the items that, are more the deterioration is the building official has said that's not under his purview. So it's go through blight. It's really the taking the next steps for blight. So that's most likely will be happening with the town manager and town council and Polly, CEO working together.
I thought they
Town
were
manager. I think they got put on the blight list last year,
Yeah.
but we're chunking away at things
Getting it
one
done.
thing at a time. The bulk of what I'd say the blight focus has been, action focus has been on Elton Road. The
They
house,
did such a nice job the last time.
did they, Elton Road?
Oh, yeah, they cleaned it up so nicely a couple
Oh.
of weeks ago.
Oh, really? Oh, that's good to hear, cause I haven't been by in a couple of
Oh,
weeks, so
it was
that,
great.
so they were compelled to hire a landscaper, or if they didn't, ARPA went and did it again, so I don't know which happened.
They do, I think it's might be a landscape because it's a little bit more manicured.
what happens when the town crew goes out there?
We have a
Do you bill
lien
them?
against them.
Oh,
I'm not sure if it was a bill or, but it's with the court system. So, yeah. Going for it, so we're in court.
How is it, do you know, how is it being received? Is it cantankerous as hell, or have they kind of reconciled that, yeah, I guess it's gotta be done?
I don't understand the
Are
question,
they-
I'm sorry.
Are they fighting every step of the way, the owners of the home, of the, Old Town Hall?
Oh, the
or are they-
town hall, no, they just always have something
excuse.
that's happening. They're getting it done, so they did do some work. So that kind of, we look to have owners making forward progress, cause we found over time that if they're making progress and you find them, they may say, meeting, and not necessarily them, but owners in general. So when they start making progress, we, don't send a weekly fine or monthly fine or whatever timing the fine is at. And then, but what we found with them is they have these little bursts of action and then not much else going on. So they did the things, to the best of my knowledge, and again, I'm not the zoning officer and I'm trying not to micromanage that department because of
Sure,
the
I
law
can
that
understand
we have.
that. That's a no-win.
So we are, or that staff person, because he does a really good job, but is that they did things to make the improvements as far as zoning goes, it's really like that. And blight is an interdepartmental action that we generally have to go through our corporation council as to move through the next steps. It's not so much a town employee, making the next steps, there's multiple layers to it.
I can imagine.
Court
I
action.
kinda
It
asked out of
needs-
curiosity,
It
but-
needs taking court action.
My wife, and I didn't mention this, we talked about this a few weeks ago, when they were in the process of removing all that overgrowth, a
Mhm.
couple of trees that were dead,
Yes.
whatever. Robin had
months ago.
seen some verbal fighting amongst different family members, of the owners, to the point where the older gentleman actually took his truck and parked it on the access lane to prevent the loader from going back and forth and picking up brush. Now, most of it had been done. I was kind of like a day late and a dollar short, but I guess there were some pretty angry words. And again, this is secondhand information, but Robin said she did observe that. And sounded like even within the family, there's some disagreement over what should be done and how much cooperation should be given. I don't know any more than
Can you
that.
tell if they've fixed broken windows?
Nothing. Well, nothing that I.
You can't tell, or you,
Nope,
They
there are
haven't.
doors off the hinges,
We're
broken
kind of-
windows, missing windows.
That's,
The thing is
And-
protecting the building.
yeah,
No,
The
there's a
doors
couple of
are-
roof areas, there's a couple of roof areas where flashing is pulled away from the soffit, that's on the front corner facing the street too. It's like that. But in the back,
Yeah.
there is a separate roof at a different pitch than the main roof. And it looks like, and Herb, I think
it's collapsed.
you've looked at
Well,
it
there's a-
closer than I
There's
have.
a
that brick
petition on the
addition.
back that anecdotally, somebody told us it had to do with the part, the police station.
Hmm. But it's still a blight violation and.
Yeah.
you know,
Oh,
you
yeah,
have-
water penetrations don't necessarily
Right.
stay where the leak is either, I mean, they have a way of traveling over joist and rock can occur many feet away from where the actual leak occurs, so it's definitely a risk.
Did
of
they take
structure.
down the dead tree that was leaning?
Yes, that's one of the
Okay.
ones that they did take down.
Cleaning up the yard is nice, but they haven't done anything to whether to make the building any better. They
Not
haven't
that I
done anything.
observed either.
I haven't seen anything to protect, and that's our focus, is preserving the building. Or our focus maybe should be to get somebody to own that building that is willing and has the resources to take care of it, and right now, we don't have that.
Is the,
They aren't gonna ever re-roof that, they're not ever gonna paint it. They're not ever gonna take care of it.
I don't know if they'll ever sell it.
No, she
I
said
don't-
they want to sell it.
Oh, did she?
Yeah,
Surprise.
I mean, she,
Well, I think
For-
a lot of it
for-
depends on what they want to sell it for.
yeah, I
They're
think they.
Wanting to sell it for 300,000 is probably a nice idea, but
Well,
I don't
That's
think
not the
that would.
impression I got when I was talking to her a couple of years ago.
They'd like to just get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is like they inherited this from the grandmother or father.
Yeah,
if they start to have to pay fines, they'll have to sell them. If they have to start paying $500 a day in fines, because they're not taking care of it, certainly will be incentive for them to sell it.
But then you have to find a buyer who isn't gonna want to just tear it down.
Right.
And
Well, at this point, it's gonna get so bad that tearing it down will be less of an eyesore than leaving it fall down.
yes, and that's why the district commission should be concerned about it. We would hate to lose a structure because of
Yeah,
total disregard for
it's
the
that,
integrity of.
it's that whole
Demo
thing
by
with the
neglect.
farm that we looked at last year is happening all over again right before our eyes. And nothing's happening to prevent it.
so has the town started finding them?
I can't speak to that.
Okay, gotcha.
I just, it's not what I'm day-to-day.
Oh, it's not a matter that you couldn't speak to, it's just you don't know based on the
Yeah,
fact you're not.
But I
in the process.
believe we've got to move into court action with the budget. I think that's where we have to go. with it.
Cause they could, they could
Yeah.
cite, they could cite them and it's a daily fine. It depends on what our ordinances are.
I
So,
was gonna
yeah,
say,
we-
so the
we-
ordinance isn't doing it, and it's,
It
and I
depends.
just don't know,
Yeah, no,
I knew a lot about it a few years ago, now it's kind of muddled as far as that goes, and I do know that over the last year, since the new zoning officer started, he's worked with both the owner as well as the town manager, you know, and had some discussions with our corporation council where they're all at. I know we talked about, there were many months that the historic district commission talked about trying to get a circuit rider to assist the homeowner, and that didn't come to fruition, but they didn't manage to
well, it
coordinate
could never
the
get
owner
a date.
with a circuit rider, which is where they would get funding. And or some other type of help to do their help. The building inspector has on numerous occasions been out there and said there are no things that he could cite on the property. As far as the roof, like if people can't get in the building's otherwise secure from access, which is entry level access.
It's not secure.
But now you said there's doors open,
Well,
I just
that
wrote that
door's been
down.
Off the hinges for,
The front door?
no, side, left-hand side is.
Oh, I know you can
He
put
said it was secure, so last thing I
Well-
know, when he went out, it was secure, so. As far as I understand, because we looked at.
It
that.
is possible that they put plywood or something on the inside of the building, and I really can't say, I didn't walk around the property, I just observed.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, because we can't enter the property go like around the back of the, we're not allowed.
Jen, part of the problem is that it's such a huge building, you know, nobody's gonna buy it to a single family house. It's only zoned to be like a hall or something,
Oh,
and yet there's no parking. Be nice, like a.
do we see?
Well, it's got parking. It's got.
There's parking on it.
To have a big event,
Oh, no,
but
no.
they used to have big events.
I picked up
There's
the
a
wrong
theater
number when I
there.
Parked on
so
the
hold
street.
on. I,
Before you lose that, also.
And
before you-
yeah,
hold on,
guys,
no,
it's
I'm gonna go to the better.
Covenants, which would be another use if it was zoned that way. So to find somebody to buy it is difficult. But the circuit rider is an outreach person, works for Preservation Connecticut, and it's a free service that they advocate for properties and kind of manage grants and stuff like that. But they were willing to come and look at the property and give us ideas, you know, what could be done with it or what they thought about the condition. And the owners were, at least to my face, were like amenable to that, but then there was always a roadblock about some family crisis or something, and oh, I can't do it until next month, and then it goes on and on and on,
Yeah.
just, you know.
So there it is. You wanted to look at something particular?
Yeah, you had the property map up.
Yes, it
Oh,
was
the
a
map
nice
itself?
building. It's-
Yeah, just about, the last
Architecture.
file you had open.
Okay. I was trying to.
Something that we also observed, and this is just incidental information.
Let me
But-
zoom in, hold on a second. Get a little-
If you look at these two driveways, look like they're truly adjacent to one another, and that, as you get toward the back, that's not the case, there is some vegetation. Right now. Yeah, you just need to orient
It's hard
myself.
to see that
It is.
driveway,
It's a pretty significant slope right here,
right,
adjacent to this driveway, and with all the brush cleared out. I would say there's a risk to Sean Gunning, Sean owns the house directly across the street. There's a risk that his driveway is gonna collapse.
this driveway,
Yes, this driveway along this edge. As the soil erodes away from things like the rain we just had and that type of thing. In particular, where root growth is an active. It's just speculation, but it's a risky situation, I would say. If I was Sean Gunning, I would be concerned over like I'm saying.
I'm sure, because this property goes,
The two driveways are probably
Yeah.
8 feet difference in height. It's enough over a short distance, so the slope's pretty severe. You know, probably deeper than 45 degrees.
I mean, the town's gonna have to make a decision at some point, once they put the box infos on, and just cite them and let the fines accrue, and then maybe foreclose. And maybe the town can bid at the sale and just take possession of it. I mean, I don't know, that may not be what we want, but it's, there are tools that can be used to really get aggressive here.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, is foreclosure something you could do if the property is owned outright?
Yes.
But you can foreclose on
You
a
can
property
foreclose
if there's
on
no outstanding.
You could foreclose on a blatantly.
does
Absolutely,
it have to be in our ordinance to do that?
I would hope it is, maybe it's not.
I
We have to adopt the
I don't know what,
regulations.
so like I said, I'm not well versed in our blight ordinance, but there's
We
a
have the-
lot, because the other property I was talking about. And we went through great lengths with regard to it, to try to get some compliance, that's really been a major focus of going through the
We have to,
process,
we have
so.
to adopt.
It would be interesting because the town got rid of it for
I know, we want
a
to.
song and a dance in the 70s.
they should have just kept it.
No kidding, at least the maintenance would have been done.
We have to have a blight program adopted in our ordinances that defines what blight is it damaged doors, damaged windows?
Yeah.
It
damage
is, we
would-
do have a very
It is true.
specific
I don't-
ordinance,
I've
but then
read
the
them, but
next action
never
is,
anything
and
about
those are things, I
foreclosure.
don't wanna speak to at this.
We might have
point
enough, but
without
that's, yeah,
our corporation
that's right.
counsel able to tell me, like, to assist us.
if our
Or,
ordinance.
I mean,
yeah.
and our
Sure.
zoning officer may have more information than I don't have it.
The way it's spelled out in the ordinance, our ordinance, if the town manager sits down with the violator and they come up with a plan, and acceptable to supposedly to both parties. And then the fines start if the landowner doesn't follow that plan, if he doesn't
That's
meet
right.
the schedule that
That's
he's
right.
agreed to, then the $500 a day fines start.
You can give them 30 days, 60 days, whatever.
Yes.
It's a grace period, basically.
Mhm.
You gotta start the process with a grace
I
period.
don't remember reading anything about foreclosures.
Yeah, but you
You
can,
probably can certainly drive up the debt, you know,
it would take a long time to drive up the debt. I don't know if you could do $500. I know Hartford has done 500, 1,000, because they'll do $99 per violation.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's enforceable, but I know some towns have.
it's not.
We have more limits than that, ours are
We should be,
much
it's
lower.
not gonna be $500 here.
so much lower.
But you gotta let the debt accrue. It could take years. If it's already, I don't know what the limit here is. It might be
Again,
$10,
we've been
$20.
through it with another property that
Yeah,
we're in court trying to get compliance, and that property's been gone on the blacklist since at least 2015, if not before, the other property.
yeah, just
So it's been
foreclose.
much forward action, but the
He's
foreclosure,
still
I
paying his
don't believe we
taxes.
have that,
Probably not
we
a
don't
lot.
have
Doesn't
that.
matter.
Still paying the taxes on it, they have
Doesn't
to
matter.
get his permission to even go on there and clean the property. They just can't.
And this
go.
has been court action by a judge on the other one. On
There
the
are,
other one,
there's
like
authority.
Vic Andres.
The town, in theory, if adopted the right regulations, could have authority to enter the property, not inside, but it could enter the. do some cleaning. But I don't know what our ordinances are, Maureen, so you're right about
So
that. I don't wanna,
that's-
you know, it's,
And I don't wanna speak
Yeah, I-
incorrectly on them either, especially,
I
You
use
know,
the
it's
regular
recorded, it's on the
date,
tape,
bring it to my-
But-
Herb has looked deeply into it, met with the town manager on it as well. Did you end up meeting with the town manager, or did we handle
Yeah,
the administrator, yeah?
if we have the authority.
And so it got put on
Yeah.
the blight list
Yeah.
last year, I think last year, I don't think it was 2 years ago, I think
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
just
last
last
year.
January, it got put on the blight list, so. Now it's in that list
Yeah.
of the 8 or so 8 to 10 properties, I believe, that are currently on the blight list, so running through them.
I have a question about the meeting house. Does it need a picture?
What was your question?
About the meeting house, it's really starting to look run down.
Oh, sure is.
So the congregational church. Who pays for the meeting house? The town?
Well, the town owns it. There is actually, there is grant money for things they consider like maintenance, like window repair, painting, that kind of thing, not for full construction of the amount of money we need. But and plus these grants are matching grants, so the town would have to put up half of the cost. I don't really know what it would cost to paint that.
I don't know what the backside looks like.
Well, same.
Part of it, I think that the plexiglass. It's like homemade storm windows that they put up there to protect the sash.
Yeah,
But over time, they have fogged up
yeah,
permanently.
almost looks like.
Yeah,
Oh.
it looks kind of
I was up
penimenty.
there, I was up there with Doug recently.
Some type of clear plastic, which is no longer clear, it's now translucent, yes, almost opaque.
I was up there with Doug Solak, he's the head of the building. Maintenance department. Cause the cupola now has money to restore the cupola, so we're talking about that. But we were talking about the painting and the plexiglass, cause he noticed the plexiglass, the older panels are all fogged up.
Oh, yeah.
And he said they have plexiglass. I don't know if they bought like a mega supply of it or something, so they were talking about replacing that. Cause it would look.
That would make a difference.
So
too.
it may be that, and I don't know, I don't wanna speak for Doug, but it may be that because we have put up the privacy screens all through COVID. But they've taken down, there's a lot of plexi that have been
Oh.
taken down from
Okay.
many buildings, including the schools. Like, again, I don't wanna speak to what he's talking about, but that could possibly be why he had this abundance.
Oh, okay, interesting.
They can't protect the windows with historic storm windows, too expensive
Well,
or.
that would have been a great idea, but I think when the original work was done, there was some serious budgetary constraints.
Well, the original work was done more to just stabilize the building,
Right,
but they
I'm
did
sure.
paint it at the time.
So the sash, I mean, the sash, if it was left exposed to the elements, inside of a decade. You could cause a lot of damage between the sunlight, constantly getting wet, dry. So that may have been done to
So they
stabilize. it.
restored the windows at that time. Those aren't the original windows, they were reproduction windows that were put in the seventies. People. Believe it or not, people donated money, they were $400 a window back then.
Well,
I mean, now there would be a lot more for a wooden window made authentically.
well, I'm guessing, so they're not vinyl clad or
Oh, no.
clattering,
No,
they're
they're
wood
wood.
windows, so
Yeah.
somebody, some smart person probably said, we're gonna get something to protect these windows from the elements. And
Yeah,
I think that's
The
probably how
plexiglass
complex
was
it.
put up after they repainted and did everything they had to do with the windows.
Yeah, every point is that normally you might see that done for energy efficiency, like a storm window, but I'm guessing they're not heating the place, right?
No, there's minimal heat here, gas heat. But it's very cold, you know,
I'll bet.
but you have to have, you can't just abandon a building and not heat it. Cause things start deteriorating.
They don't use that, but right, do they?
Well, you can't, cause it doesn't have a CO yet. You didn't know that?
I didn't like that.
No, it's considered a construction site.
It's fairly,
Maureen's
gutted
been in.
inside.
Pardon?
It would be what you consider fairly gutted.
Really?
Inside, yeah.
For some reason,
It's
I would think there'd be
very rusted.
original floors in there.
No, because that building underwent so many changes over the years,
Okay.
you know. When it was a school, it was partitioned up into 4 rooms. When it was Board of Ed, you know, they put different office cubby holes in every bathrooms, all kinds of things. Changed a lot of stuff, and then the first time in the 70s, when the building was vacated and they were starting to do stuff, they just gutted everything. So it's basically the bones.
With the piping.
No plumbing, there's no plumbing.
Oh, well, that's pretty deceiving from the outside. I did not know that.
Yeah, well, people call us all the time and say,
It's a shell.
Can I rent it?
yeah,
Can I rent
Can I
it?
rent
Yeah.
it? Can I have a wedding? Can we use it as a venue?
or they think, well, when is that museum open?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not yet. I thought you were on, like, we did the walking tour thing and we had people
No, I
there.
couldn't make it. I think I wanted to go on that. I didn't make it.
Yes, but what they did too is they put plywood over all the windows inside, so you can see the effect of the windows. Everything's plywooded up, so it feels like you're in a plywood box.
It's very dark inside, but it's cool. Like,
Yeah.
you can
I mean, the
use your
acoustic-
imagination and you know,
That's
it,
the
like, what you
space.
described as some of the plans for it, were
Yeah.
just. They very nice, and with the museum and the
Mhm,
display areas and whatnot, it could be
mhm.
a great resource, especially on the ridge.
Yeah.
And history,
Historical, yeah.
history people, like
Mhm.
most interested parties in town.
The other thing Herb brought up is, I had mentioned this last meeting, I forget why I was talking about it, but about trees and how
I heard you talking at the
we
beginning.
used to have a tree committee with the chair and everything. Before I was involved with this commission, which is a long time ago. And we were debating whether we should have that again. Or maybe do a survey about how people feel about trees. It's just doing a random, like when I talk to people. After some trees had come down, they said, oh, well, how would you like it if we planted some replacement trees, maybe something flowering or whatever? No, I don't want any trees because you have to break the leaves.
Really?
But other people would like to see that, so. I don't know if it's something to pursue.
So
Because we
other
don't have any
people
money,
Other people being, they're not the homeowner?
yeah, the homeowner. This is when I'm walking on the ridge and I talk to people.
Oh,
That live there and how they feel about it, because it would affect them the most.
They want them, the ones to do, love it. Oh, God bless you.
Thank you.
Just like, it should be a choice.
Um,
You don't have to worry about who's going on it. They have sidewalks there. don't
Well,
they?
that was part of the problem because the roots kind of buckled up all the slate
Yeah.
sidewalks and we had to replace those. Um, in some places, they just put concrete, it's a mishmash of stuff. Used to be all slate. Going up and down the ridge, over time, they keep removing it gradually. But there still is some slate. There used to be brick, but. And the town was supposed to keep that, but then they changed their mind at the last minute and ripped it up. So,
Part of the problem was,
It's not to us.
most of the trees were maple trees and.
they
they're
were
shallow
talking
rooted
to us and I
and
thought we were.
they are
agree with it.
asphalt parking lots and sidewalk. Pretty well, there's probably better choices of trees than maples, and maples don't hold up to the road treatments that are used these days.
So
So,
there could be a choice of tree where it's not gonna lift up.
well, yeah, deep rooted, like oaks, for example, but a
Yeah.
whole bunch of this maples are very shallow rooted. So they can.
There's actually a group of trees, or to what you're saying, called boulevard trees. That they are trees that have been proven to do very, very well on a boulevard where you have lanes going left and right and a grass strip down the middle.
Mhm.
I mean, that's the definition of a boulevard, but
We can't do that.
no, but the issue between the sidewalk and the road, there's a relatively small space for planting there.
Mhm.
Maybe it's
Right.
6 feet, 7 feet wide.
And,
something
and
like that.
that's what we're
And
talking
it's
about,
sloped
right?
in front of a lot of the properties, not all of them, but it's sloped. It's a challenging thing to plant a tree there.
Sure.
So you probably would wanna, someone would want to research and pick a species that has demonstrated the ability to do well as not, upset the road or the sidewalk.
I'm willing to pursue it if you want me to talk to, there's gotta be a tree guy in town.
We have a tree
There is a
warden,
race.
we have a tree warden.
Yeah, and just bend his ear and see what he thinks about what the possible trees would be and how receptive, town's taking on the responsibility of these things. How receptive they would be to planting trees. And anybody on the other side of the sidewalk, they can plant whatever they want. But, does the town
Well,
have
some
to
areas
be
on the ridge have
responsible?
sidewalks on both sides. too.
Oh, yeah, one side of the street where the power lines are not receptive to big shade trees.
Oh, I can understand that, that's right.
In the old pictures, you see, it must have been elms or something, but they went up like this. and you-
That's an awesome look.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can't
But
just
that was
grow
before
it in a couple of years, it's something. that
that was
takes
before
decades.
power lines.
power lines,
Yeah.
and there was a trolley.
So I just brought up the portion of the regulations that says the following committees may be established by the commission. And 2.4.3 is the tree committee. To periodically assess and make recommendations regarding the care, replacement, removal and planting of trees and other vegetation in the district. With the goal of preserving and enhancing the district's historic character. So that's a committee that the commission has the ability to
I think
create
what's happened
and
is the
work
town,
on with the town.
the town. Well, we don't have much say with Eversource or the state, if it's on their property, but like, the town is taking those.
Those are all
trees.
town roads. The
Where they
historic
use-
district is a town road,
Oh,
as is Hudson and, most, I think all the roads actually
yeah,
are local.
but the town, I don't remember them ever contacting us.
Again,
Get our
that's sometimes
opinion.
of whether the connection is made from one
Yeah.
department or one set of crew to another. As to there being, another board commission or entity with authority or input. I know there was a few years ago that it might have been since our current public works director started, that he had gathered, I wanna say it was him, might have been one of the interim ones that was trying to make the connections so that, left hand and right hand know. And, and have that conversation. Again, the commission hasn't had a tree committee, to the best of my knowledge,
Well,
in years, so.
I've never had it, I've been on it like 19 years, so.
We didn't have a tree committee, so, you know, that I think much like you, take on the, you know, one of the committees is for new people are one of the things the commission does is reach out to new people. I think it would be, the committee would create that liaison action with Public Works, so that it's a thing, you know, for lack, I know that's already had a conversation, but it makes it a thing instead of it just
So the tree
Oh,
warden
that's not
is under Public Works.
Public Works.
'Cause I-
Is the director the tree warden or is there an actual tree
No,
warden?
there's a tree warden
Wow,
in the Public Works.
wow,
department.
okay.
So many times, one of the things, and I rarely talk to him, I always go through Public Works when I deal with him, but it's, for instance, we'll get an inquiry of someone whose property either has a conservation easement or butts up to conservation property and they're worried about trees along the conservation property coming down. And the tree warden will go check to see if the tree should come down or if this person just wants to clear their land to make more yard. You know, and it makes that evaluation for us so that we can say, okay, you're okay, you know, that tree, obviously, we don't want the liability of it coming down in your yard. And you can't take it down. That
I
kind of thing.
remember a couple of years ago, all of a sudden trees were planted at the meeting house.
Um,
I forget if I asked you about this, but
I don't.
it turns out there was some kind of grant money or something. And the town was getting all these trees, or maybe they were donated, I found out they're red maples. And they planted some on the meeting house grounds and then other places in town. But we were never,
So our
approach to say we're doing
grounds
that, right?
department is also part of Public Works, although it works really closely with the Parks and Rec and some other departments too, and he's phenomenal. And it's Steve Woods that runs
yeah, I
that,
talked to him.
and Steve is like, if he can find a way to make landscaping happen, he does. Again, he's separate from the tree board, Steve Wood.
Steve Woods,
Steve Wood.
Newington? Still his landscaping?
No, I believe he's
No,
in
he's a
town, no, he's a town employee,
Well, no, I mean, right now,
He doesn't live, no, doesn't.
and I think he's in town,
he lives in town?
I believe he lives in
Okay.
town.
Cause I know a Steve Woods that,
And I don't think there's an S on the end of his name, but there might be, I think it's just Wood.
okay,
Steve Wood.
okay, it's gotta be somebody else.
But again, you know, and connections, but he's, and so I think if the commission, and I don't wanna speak for, you know, the hierarchy of the town, but I would think if the commission reestablished a tree committee, part of that would be connecting the people involved in landscaping and trees. And that is what would get that conversation going as to whether replacing street trees on the street are appropriate or not appropriate, and in which cases they're appropriate. Taking down, you know, you gave us the example last month of the trees on either side of your the stairs in front of your house were needing
I
to
believe
come
he had done it.
down, so
Sure.
then what is the process, and if you take a tree down, do you have to replace it? Or do you just, or is there a plan for replacement? And you know, obviously with it being town property, we then have the loop in of the way, the cost of replacing trees with town council, with the finance board, with budgeting, but again, sometimes there's grant money. And there's probably grant money through historic preservation as well, it's not just landscaping grant money, and you know, it's lots of layers and lots of parties to be involved, so. But
I've lived here for 50 years, I can't remember, I think we have lost well over half the street trees on Hudson Street and the Ridge. And I don't remember ever in 50 years seeing a new street tree planted on Worthington Ridge or Hudson Street, a street tree planted in this area that we're talking about. between the sidewalk and the street. And if you look, you don't see any small tree. They're all big dying, sick tree.
And that's not uncommon, as the conversation we were casually having before the meeting. That trees seem to be going everywhere, and a lot of it is the power companies and the storms and the damage and insurances and liabilities and unfortunately, that's, if you don't have that push to preserve and or replace, that's from the 50 years we said in the area, and they're just going, you know, it makes an impact over time.
Well,
I'm not in the commission, we probably shouldn't make such
It's definitive statements.
yeah, that's an opinion
I'll
statement,
make that
but
okay.
it's, you know, I'm neutral at all times.
It's true, you're right.
I think it's something we should look into.
yeah, as far as the committee, well, we have a hard time to make a quorum here
I
with
know.
our meeting, so we, you know, a committee or a couple of people is the, would be committee enough.
Yeah, how many people would be on the committee?
So I think I don't know that the committee has any real
There's no-
It doesn't have any authority.
definition.
Or,
Two people, I mean, so we did have the conversation when we talked about a committee with regard to a demolition delay ordinance. That if more than two people meet together, then, yeah, seeing it as a committee.
it is a meeting, it's a meeting.
It's a meeting and going through the process, so then it's a matter of, okay, does somebody wanna, you know, one or two people wanna team up and be a liaison kind of. And to kind of reach out and find out fun facts and report back to the commission, and or just it wanna be a committee that then decides on calendar and meets and gets things together. January with the holiday in the next 2 weeks, it's coming up extremely quickly, it's pretty, so quick in January, but, and it's winter, so things can't be happening. But if, for instance, somebody wants to, and I'm sorry, I can't possibly wrap my head around making sure I'm the one that keeps it at the forefront, but puts it back on my radar a week or two before the February meeting. I can work to talk to the public works director, talk to Steve Wood, and try to figure out if there's some information we can pull together and way to coordinate absent a committee meeting formed, but instead.
Well, maybe Herb could do that.
Yeah.
You have so much on your plate.
Even just letting them know that come around and talk to this group.
Right.
Just taking down a tree or planting in a tree.
Right, but I
Letting
think they
them know
did put it on the radar a few years ago when they had to take down some trees because of storms. A number of, I'm gonna say it might have even been when Mark was the planner or just after, it was in that time period after Helen. That there was some coordination, but then, you know. A whole year passes before the next, or 2 years or 3 years before the next tree comes, and you might have a different crew going out to be
Yeah.
on the road or making those decisions. So I just feel like it needs to be more on the radar again. And that, hey, let's all work together and coordinate. And a couple weeks before the February meeting, we could have maybe a daytime meeting with a couple of them. Interdepartmental meeting that our office can work on coordinating it. I just need to be reminded to do something at that point. I'm just sorry, I could write it down 50 times and I won't remember that. Or I may not remember.
But
So
I think
Herb sent me an email and or a voicemail before that, if Herb wants to, or if who wants to. You might not remember either. Or might have other
No.
things on your plate.
What I'm saying is, I took care of golf courses for 50 years. And I know a lot of public works people, park and rec people.
Yeah.
Directors, and I know a lot of people in the business. So what I'm saying, I can talk their language, so in January, I can just invite the tree warden, just give me a name and how to contact them.
So I only contact him through the director of public works, either
Okay.
the
well,
director or
I'll
the assistant.
introduce myself to.
Either Mike or Jim are the two that always
Yeah.
contacts the tree warden. or
Okay,
me.
and I'll approach them and introduce myself and. You know, because we're talking about. This is a project that involves the town at every step. This is the strip of land that the town takes care of.
Yeah, that's kind of why I wanna have, I would like to have a meeting where it is the director of public works or
Well,
him deciding
I'd rather
who
keep it
comes to it.
informed First,
And just kind of brainstorm, he's pretty, like,
yeah,
he would just have a work session meeting, we do them regularly. But it kind of puts everybody on the same page so that he can decide whether it's the tree warden. Or it's the grounds guys. Or it's somebody else in his department,
Well-
you know, who is the right person?
I think you know how much I like about the process. I just assume meet with the guy, introduce myself and go from there.
Yeah, and I just don't know that he's the street tree guy, I don't know if he is or
Okay,
not.
I'm sure he
Mike
is.
would have to tell me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, when you have a relationship with some of these guys, they come and they check with you first on things. Cause I know
Right.
Steve would,
So you can check with everybody on anything, you
Well,
can just put it on his radar.
the
but-
first thing, like, I saw. There was, I think a car ran into that stone wall at the monument.
Oh, I remember when he
Remember
was
that?
worked hard.
And like all of a sudden they were, I saw somebody there doing something, I thought, oh, I hope they're like doing it the way they're supposed to do it and everything. And Steve had never occurred to him to check with us first, but we have a relationship now.
Right.
So, you know, he will check first, and like, anytime you ask him to do something like Zoom, he's like.
Zoom,
doing it right
a
away.
Zoom.
He's done.
Wow,
He's
people like that
amazing.
are great.
He
Yeah, people are.
really, he's he's a major asset
Yeah.
to the town, he really is, dedicated.
Anything else?
His brain has it not yet, like mine. Oh, but nothing.
Okay. Hope we're done with,
Oh.
done yawning.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
in a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Merry
Time is
Christmas, everyone.
8:50.
Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you, Maureen.
Background is. Golf course.